What's good, YouTube? Nader94 here, and today I'm going to talk about Cardfight Vanguard, as it came to my attention recently that some people may not actually know what it is. Well, it's a TCG trading card game, similar to both Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, but I wound up realizing that not many people would actually know what the hell I'm doing and playing. And there are days where I completely forget to narrate half the shit that's going on, but some people on the website that I play it on are, for some fucking reason, in a gigantic-ass hurry to play. Like, they just want to keep fighting, and it's like, you can take the time and enjoy the game, people. Anyway, I decided to at the very least, show this small, video explaining like how to play the game and all that, plus I'll set up like a demonstration thing where I can like show what each card's like capabilities are and stuff. Anyway, for Cardfight Vanguard, the TV show that is actually on YouTube that you can find with like just a simple YouTube search. The way the game takes place itself, the game takes place on a planet similar to Earth called Cray. The game is basically fueled by your imagination, at least for those of us with imagination. I know some people are hard-pressed for imagination. Anywho, so for winning and losing conditions, for Vanguard, you deal 6 damage to your opponent's Vanguard, and when a player has 6 or more cards in his or her damage zone, after all resolving all effects, that player is the one that loses. Simple, right? When a player decks out, they lose immediately. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have a turn to do it. Especially with how the game works with drives and damage triggers. When a player has no Vanguard... Oh, cool. When a player has no Vanguard, that player chooses a card from his or her soul and write it as stand. However, if that player has no Vanguard and has no cards in the soul at the same time, he or she loses. Sorry, Oracle Think Tank players that use Scarlet Witch Coco. Player can also win the game with the ability of a card such as Star Vader Omega Glindios. This one is one of the few cards that have like an instant win condition. Oh, that's kind of cool. If both players achieve one of these conditions at the same time, the game ends in a draw. Hi, Angel Feather users. Like, that just came to me. But this is Star Vader Omega Glindios. So I'm just going to read off what its ability is, just so that... What the hell? I did not click that. I went to go back to Glindios. What the hell? Alright, there we go. It's a Link Joker. It's a card from the Link Joker clan. It's, triple rare. Which means it's expensive as all hell, but considering they've just rebooted the entire franchise, it may not be relevant here soon. But some people still play old sets and mix the new, from what I've seen on Area. Limit Break is an ability on that was released way back in Season 2 of the TV show. And basically what it is, it's a skill to basically pull out the late game. Late game, you're at 4 or more damage. Limit Break, you activate the abilities as aforementioned. The backwards R is meant for reverse, which was a type of archetype to play. But there's Limit Break, and then there's Ultimate Break, which Ultimate Break is when you're like one damage away from losing. But yeah, right here at the beginning of your main phase, if the number of opponents' locked cards is 5 or more, you win the game. So basically, you have a deck that can instant win the game and stop your opponent from doing shit with Link Joker. If your deck actually likes you, because there are times where you get screwed over by said deck. Limit Break 4, Counterblast. Choose a card with reverse in its card name from your hand and discard it. All of your opponent's locked cards cannot be unlocked during his or her next end phase. And locked cards are basically on the Rearguard and Vanguard circle, which I'll show in a minute. They are face down on your Rearguard circle. But a lot of cards have specific abilities, and the clans are basically archetypes themselves, even though the clans also have archetypes, but they have archetypes to support the clan. And with whatever is currently the next metagame, they come out with new support. They have something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't, where they don't just forget about a clan all at once. I mean, it takes a while for certain clans to get support, but that's to be expected when you've got... Give me a moment. When you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... Shit, I lost count. 6, 5 there, so that's 11. 4, that's 15... 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 clans. So basically 28 archetypes, except one of them, in Tranger, is basically a joke clan that I personally want to mess around with, just for shits and giggles fights on area. But at the same time, they don't have nearly enough support to do anything. They've got a critical trigger, which is nice. No heals, nothing. Anyway, back to what I was going with. Each clan has their own separate method of playstyle. Link Joker focuses on locking your opponent's rear guards, etc., etc. There's a few clans that are based on some obvious things. Spike Brothers, American football. Deck construction rules. Here we go. I'm going to cover flow up there. For your main deck, as a global... Alright, here we go. As a global rule, continuous abilities regarding deck construction of your main deck or G deck are applied. As a replacement effect, that changes the following rules. You may have up to 4 cards with the same printed card name between your main deck and your G deck each, even if anyone has different characteristics except its card name. That's worded weird. But the main deck must have exactly 50 cards, including your chosen first Vanguard, your grade 0 that you ride at the beginning of the game. Can only contain cards that are normal units and trigger units, which I'll show off what that is in Deck Editor here in a minute. You must have at exactly 16 trigger units. And you can only have up to 4 cards that are heal triggers, and you can only have up to 4 cards with the Sentinel ability. For the G deck, you can only have up to 16 cards, which is basically the Yu-Gi-Oh! Extra deck thing. But I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to do a small, minor demonstration thing here in a minute. You can only contain cards that are G units. with that. And then there's, of course, fighter rules like deck regulations, card restrictions, and fighting formats. And it really just depends on how you want to play the game. And then there's a lot of stuff here where it's reading like the card name. Oh, hey, there we go. Alfred Early here is actually one of the quote-unquote normal units, and the Epona here is quote-unquote trigger unit, which is what it told you to put in the deck up here. Oops. Didn't mean to go all the way up to the Glindios thing. You have the card name, which is right here. You have the clan, which it shows underneath the name next to the critical symbol. You have race underneath the clan, just like for those of you that like lore stuff. And it's also a good like size determiner since how Vanguard works as a game. There's grade 0 to 4, numeric value that referred to when you normal ride or normal call a card. Grade can give limitations to when playing a card. So I'm actually going to fight myself for this, just to like kind of demonstrate how it goes, and I will fight myself fully to 6. It's just going to be interesting. Alright, from 0 to 4, it is the numerical value referred to you when you normal ride or normal call a card. The grade can give limitations when playing a card. There's shield, which I'll get to that later too. Same thing with the critical. The trigger icon is kind of self-explanatory when you have triggers. There's also the skill icons, which I can go through during the fighting portion of this little tutorial. Here we go. Text frame. The set abilities of a card is written inside the text frame. The contents within the frame is referred to as text. Some cards have text within parentheses to show the description of a keyword or keyword ability. This is called a reminder text. Reminder text is part of the text, but it is just for explanatory purposes and does not affect the game. Some cards may not have ability on them. An ability is divided into 3 categories, known as auto, which basically means it automatically activates as you are doing whatever the cost is. Then there's activation, which is one that you activate immediately, like you can activate at least once per turn or whatever. And then there's continuous, which is a constant stream effect. Some text is colored differently to put an emphasis on it. The difference in colors has no meaning in the actual terms and rules. There's flavor text, cute little names stuff. There's also flags now on the cards, which I think is kind of cool. And then, of course, there's Imaginary Gift, which is a new mechanic that just came out, and that's why they're rebooting and rewriting certain cards that some card fighters are familiar with and some aren't. Like, I remember that Alfred, King of Knights Alfred in Royal Paladin was actually one of these OP cards, but also could not be boosted by grade 1. Now it can actually be boosted. Now, let's get into actually fighting myself. I'll cut some of this out just to like make it seem like I know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm watching you. Or I'll talk over myself, I don't know. Because now I've got 2 windows of myself. And I think I'm going to actually use 2 separate decks that I have. So, right now. Load deck. My deck number 2. I'm gonna go into test because that's like one of the only ways I'm gonna be able to do this shit. Alright, so first things first, when you're starting a game, oh god, I'm gonna have to... that should at least slow it up. Basically, you take the starting Vanguard, which is a grade 0. I'm going to move up the frame a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Most grade 0s have triggers on them, but your starting Vanguard almost always does not. I'm actually trying to remember how to flip the card face down. Oh, that's cool. On the thing, because that is actually how it works. Oh wait, I got a better idea. I can do this real fucking quick. Okay. Control, click your rear guard with the left mouse button to lock and unlock that card. Okay. So basically, the start of the game starts off like this, where both of you are, like, standing on the planet Cray, which is a thing in the anime. I'm just, like, giving a, like, small, like, demonstration thing here. Deck editor. Oh, wait. Deck load. I'm gonna go into my Kageros. Neo Kagero 2, which shows off the other stupid shit I can get into. So, at the beginning of the game, you each shuffle your decks and draw up to 5 cards. Okay, that is a terrible starting hand, but hey, I'll work with it. That's a better starting hand. Okay, so for the starting hand, that is actually terrible. I'm going to show the mulligan rule, where you can take any number of cards from your hand and put them back into your deck, shuffle your deck, and draw the same amount that you put into your deck. Both you and your opponent should have 5 cards at the start. 5 cards in hand at the start of your fight, which is actually the case. Alright, so I'm going to actually wind up using the Narukami cards. So basically, one of the things for Vanguard is they do this thing where in unison they say stand up Vanguard. Some players will just immediately have the decks out. It really just depends on how you're feeling with it. I've got a couple more videos to record today, but there's that. And I'm going to use the Narukami deck, which is my personal favorite deck and my personal deck at home. So, there's that. Alright, so on the first turn you draw, and it starts with a ride phase. During the ride phase, you can choose to ride your Vanguard up to 1 grade higher than it currently is. Unfortunately for me, on the Narukami end, I don't have any grade 1s. So I can't ride it, so I'm stuck as Wild Run Dragoon. So next, main phase would be you call units to actually help you battle. But because I don't really have anything to do with this hand right now, I am stuck, so I have to end my turn and concede to the Kagero user character that I'm using. His turn, he draws, and he gets to ride to the next grade. Now I'm getting ride bar, and due to this skill here, auto, when you ride on top of this unit, you may draw a card, or you draw a card. It kind of forces you to draw. So I draw. Next up is the main phase, which you can call units that are the same grade or lower than your Vanguard. Now for the fun part. Like, I can still call the grade 0s, but I'm saving them to show off something else. So next we go into the battle phase. Now, on grade 1s, they have they have this little icon here with an arrow pointing up towards the 1. This means that this unit has the ability to boost another unit that is attacking. So, during battle phase, it gives power. It basically gives power to the Vanguard, which is the one attacking right now. However, this unit has a skill. Boosting, if you have more rear guards than your boosted unit, gets 3,000 power until the end of turn. So you'd add 3,000 power onto the attacking bar, total attack, 19,000. So, I can actually guard this attack, but at the same time, I want to show off what a first attack can do. Plus, most of this deck, the electricity deck, mostly consists of counterblast, which I need damage to actually be able to use. So, I'm going to not guard it. Since the Vanguard is attacking on the Kagero Flaming Dragon side, I'm going to drive check, which basically, you take a card from your deck, you reveal it to yourself and your opponent, which normally in table games, basically it comes here. Doesn't go to bind, but there's a thing on most tables where it's a trigger check zone, like bind is off the mat, technically. There's like a trigger check zone supposed to be like in between here. And that's where your damage checks and your drive checks will be. Drive checks are added to your hand. And drive checks can only be performed if the Vanguard is the one attacking. Unless a card effect says otherwise, like if you're playing under like special rules for a joke tournament or something, like a certain episode in Vanguard, but they went around with it thanks to how they did it. They made sure that they couldn't deck out with the 50-card decks. Alright, so drive check revealed no trigger. Triggers would be up in the top right-hand corner of the card. So next, my lightning dragons need to do a damage check. That doesn't go to my hand, that goes into the damage zone. Hopefully I'm making this somewhat comprehensive, because I am trying to go into depth and detail of talking this way. Also, I should probably point out one of the glaringly obvious things. Basically, these two circles are connected, these two circles are connected. So you can't have where you have this card over here and boosting the Vanguard. It can only boost the thing standing in front of it. Anyway, I returned bar to normal, and because the battle phase has ended, once all effects are resolved during the battle phase, you end your turn, and it becomes your opponent's turn. So next, it's my deck's turn, and you know what? Just to get this going where I'm not getting screwed over, I'm going to pull a card out of my deck just to have a card to ride. And it'll probably be this one. There's that one. And now I'm going to shuffle it because I'm cheating, but I'm also trying to show you guys abilities and stuff, and it's kind of hard to actually do that as a fight tutorial if you're being screwed over. But I could have done something else called G-Assist, which I'll show off in a little bit. Alright, so next, I ride this little Shota. I'm sorry, he looks like a Shota. And thanks to Wild Run Dragoon's skill Forerunner, whenever a Narumi unit would rides on top of it, I can call it from the soul to any rearguard circle. So I'll call it back behind my Vanguard. And since that is technically the only thing I can do at the moment, it's my turn to attack the Kagero user. Now I can show the other fun part. Alright, that's an attack of 12,000. And bar is 8,000. So, if the attack matches or is greater than the power of your Vanguard, which right here is 8,000, for a second there I had a brain fart. If the attack is greater than the power of your Vanguard, or the same, it will go through. However, you can avoid that by calling Guardians. So, for instance, if you notice on some of the cards, they have a shield marker on the sides, right here. Tar's shield is 15,000, making the 12,000 attack pretty much useless. However, there are still times where you'll wind up... Yeah, because I'm going to double check this real quick. Alright, yeah. So, currently, the power of the shield for the duration of this attack. So, each individual attack is its own attack thing. So you don't add shield onto the Vanguard constantly, or whatever unit you're guarding, throughout the turn. At the end of the attack, the unit goes into the drop zone, which is the deck graveyard below it. Alright, anyway, that's 23,000 against my Vanguard's 12,000. It's not going to hit at all, no matter even if I get a trigger. Especially since my deck doesn't have the support that this deck was built to have, but I wanted to show everything off. And this deck that I built, one of them, has everything but one thing, and that's the new mechanic, the gift. Alright, so anyway, since we're guarding with a 15k shield, we're pretty much fine. Drive check revealed no trigger. With triggers, there are 5 different types of triggers now. There's the draw trigger, which, when revealed, you give power to a unit on your field, and then you draw, and then you check for... Well, you wouldn't check the draw, but you know what I mean. There's critical trigger, which adds an extra damage to your attack. There's stand trigger, which basically restands a rear guard, which would be good if you're using a deck that focuses solely on multiple attacks. There's also the heal trigger now. Well, it's been out. Heal trigger is a card that basically, when you and your opponent have... If you have more damage than your opponent and you reveal this trigger, you can heal one point of damage, move the damage from your... Bleh. You know what, it's better just to show you guys. Because I'm an idiot. Alright, so that ends the Narukami turn. Next up, stand and draw. I can only ride 2 different cards. And I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to ride a Vanguard card that can't attack on the Vanguard circle, but I'm trying to prove something out. Like, just for kicks. And I'm also going to call a rear guard to show off another one of the abilities. Alright, so, now that that's done, and also I'm going to call that. Like, just to have the boost. So, now that it's done, boosting, and because it still does have more rear guards than the Narukami deck, a 21,000 powered attack is attacking a unit with 7,000 power. Which I could choose to guard or not guard, and I choose not to guard it, so this is a damage trigger check. Oh yay, one of my favorite cards that I was going to show off. Because it has damn near everything on it, except one thing. Alright, cool. And that ends that ends turn because of so now that that turn's over, I can finally do this. I'll stand my shit and draw. And looks like I can only be one of two things. I think I'd rather try that. It's not a card that has any special abilities on the Vanguard Circle, but it is actually a pretty decent card, which is why I have it. I'm also going to place and this to do attacks. Now, they don't have any special abilities on attack hits either, but I'm trying to show off. Alright, so that's an attack of 15,000 attacking the Vanguard of the other deck. However, because one of the rear guards is a grade 2 that is in the front row, specifically, front row is the only way you can actually do this unless a card effect says otherwise. It has this little symbol here, which is called Intercept. Basically, when attacking a Vanguard, or when a Vanguard is being attacked, or a unit on your field is being attacked, you can choose to move it into the Guardian Circle, which is this giant green thing here, and add its shield to Vanguard. Now, it's still 15k because of Striken's 10,000 power and his shield of 10,000, or 5,000 here. However, you can also choose to have a unit guard like that, and not an additional unit. You can guard with as much shield cards as you need to. However, when guarding, you can only guard with a card the same grade as your Vanguard, or lower. However, grade 3s cannot guard. Alright, so that was the rear guard attack. Next up, the Vanguard attack, which the other deck needs Counterblast. So, drive trigger check, no trigger. Now checking for a damage trigger. Oh no, it's another Dragonfall, or Draconic Waterfall. I'm gonna kill like 3 birds with 1 stone in this one attack. Or in this one ability. Alright, so that's all that deck can do. So we end our turn with that. And then, it's this one's turn. Stand and draw. Oh, cool. Ride Draconic Waterfall. Now, this one has an ability that's also a... well, this Prowling Dragon Striking has an ability that is also a ability that is upon ride. Basically, what the cost is here is you counterblast 1 and draw a card when it is written. Then, the Vanguard that it rode upon it, the grade 3 Vanguard specifically, because that's what it says, when rode upon by a grade 3, cost Counterblast 1, which is basically flipping over one of the cards in your damage zone to be face down. So, it gains 5,000 power and a critical, meaning it now does 2 damage for the duration of this turn, in addition to any triggers it may or may not get. However, now it has an ability, when it's placed on the Vanguard Circle, choose one of the opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it. So, since I unit, the retired unit goes into the drop zone. and it cannot be used. That one cannot be used, or that copy of that card cannot be used for the intercept capability. Alright, next, here we have one of the newer game mechanics called Imaginary Gift. Each clan has their own imaginary gift. Narukami has Excel, Spike Brothers has Force, and so does Kagero. Oracle Think Tank has a thing called Protect, which it adds a Sentinel. And basically what it is you activate Protect, or you activate the imaginary gift, at least for Force, and you add power to at least one of the rear guard or Vanguard circle. So, I added it to Dragonic Waterfall. He now has 28,000 power on his own without the added boost from Dragon Monk Gojo here. Now, I'm calling in another attacker. However, battle phase, here we go. Draw. Alright, 36,000. It doesn't have that ability just yet because I don't have a grade 3 unit in his soul right now. So he doesn't get the 10,000 and the additional crit, or the ability to do Fentanyls. However, he still has the crit from Striken's ability. And unfortunately, I don't really have much shield to actually guard against it, so I'm going to no guard. Twin Drive, first check, no trigger. Yeah, grade 3s have the ability when they are on the Vanguard circle, they have this little sigil here, which represents Twin Drive, where they perform 2 drive checks during their attack. So there's the first check, and the second check. No triggers. However, that attack hit. So now, because the attack was critical with 1 additional attack on it, he deals 2 damage to me. There's 1. And 2. And oh god, it was a Sentinel. What luck. Also, the Force gift only gives the additional 10,000 power until on your turn only. So you can't just stack it and, oh, you have to hit 70,000 before killing me. That's not how that works. They made sure the power creep wasn't too bad. I've seen people mix and match decks before, so hey, I can't wait to see what Narukami gets for Excel cards. So that was that. Also, I forgot to add the extra 3,000, but I wasn't guarding that anyway. So here we go. 3,000. That's an attack of 17,000, easily blockable, with one of my own personal shields, which I have here. Shield of 10,000, beats 17, because of the 8,000 onto the guard. So the attack was off by 1. So that ends this turn. For this card. Now for the fun part for me, because I get... It's also probably a bad idea if any viewer wants to actually fight me, but hey. I stand, and I draw. I'll ride to the next grade, Dragonic Vanquisher. Next, I'm going to activate an ability called Stride. What Stride is if you and your opponent are both at grade 3, you can discard a grade 3 or a couple of cards totaling in numbers from their grade to grade 3. I have Dragonic Vanquisher in my hand, so I don't have to discard 2 cards. So, I do that. I check my extra deck, or my G deck, which is supposed to be somewhere above the damage zone. So now, I choose a card, which I'm going to choose, where is it? Here you are. Voltec Zapper Dragon, to stride upon. Now, Dragonic Vanquisher has an ability called Stride Skill. When I stride, I can counterblast, which is the damage flipping, one card. And I can force my opponent to bind a unit in their front row. So, this card goes to the bind zone, but it also hit the drop zone. So, cards that have the wording "it hit the drop zone," or when you retire a unit or when bind, cards' abilities activate as well. So, for instance, this Generation Break 1, because it does count. This technically counts as a face-up G unit, the card that is on your Vanguard circle, for the duration of the turn at the very least. Generation Break 1, when your opponent's rearguard into the drop zone due to your effect. Oh yeah, and Vanquisher has... Stride also has this thing where your stride also gains the name of your Vanguard for the duration of the turn, too. But you still have the actual title of it. Thunder Dragon Knight Zoras is this one. However, this one's ability is your opponent chooses a card from his or her drop zone and binds it face up. Which is nice. At least for this deck. Which means he chooses a card and puts it in the bind zone face up. Which, unfortunately, they can't put it face up. Or at least they can't, for, actual, fighting other people. You can't see what they put in the bind zone. But they're working on fixing it, at least on this website. And then, because of that, and this is a once per turn ability for this card, I can choose a unit on my field and give it 2,000 power added. So I'm giving 2,000 power added to my Vanguard, making it a 28,000 attacker right now. Basically, what you see with the power there is it adds to the original attack power of the Grade 3 Vanguard circle. Also, I had forgotten to click to main phase for the stride, because it's at the very beginning of your main phase, I think. So, it had the added 2,000. I'm going to add this to the field, and this to the field as well. There's a reason for it, and now I'm going to activate Generation Break again, which, face-up G unit. I'm going to move it into the soul, and my opponent chooses a card from his or her drop zone and binds it face up. Then, I choose an ability of my rearguard or Vanguard, and give it Thunderstrike 2, which is... Thunderstrike is basically, if the ability is active when your opponent has cards in the bind zone equal to the number. So, moving this to the soul, giving this Thunderstrike 2. And it does. So it gains 5,000 additional attack power. So next, I'm attacking with the rearguard first. That's a 20,000 attacking rearguard being boosted by a grade 1. So, I'm going to show off one of the other abilities. Sentinel, which is indicated by a little golden shield here that the shield says 0, but it's actually an ability where when it's placed on the Guardian Circle, you discard a card from your hand. And one of the units, the unit that you are guarding, cannot be hit until the end of the battle. The battle or attack, which each attack is its own individual battle. So, that attack got nullified. And of course, as with all Guardians, they go into the drop zone after the attack is over. So next, we have the Vanguard attack. Now the Vanguard attack for this one is a little special. As you can see here, the Vanguard underneath the G unit did not actually turn. That's because this is the unit that's actively attacking. But I do get to show off one more thing. I'm just not going to guard because I kind of need the damage for the Kagero deck. But this symbol right here shows the arrow, like 3 arrows going up, like how the grade 3 have 2 arrows twisting, which shows the twin drive. This has an ability called triple drive, where it does 3 drive checks for a turn. Triple drive. First check, no trigger. But hey, grade 3, that's good. Second check, no trigger. Hey, a stride fodder. It has an ability where if you lost a stride, it gets an additional 2 to its grade, so it counts as a grade 3 when discarding it for a stride. And card number 3. A Sentinel itself. This one's a little different, because this one I put in the deck for unflipping damage, because my deck's kind of counterblast heavy. And now, because the attack hit a Vanguard, the opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. And then I choose 2 cards from his drop zone and bind it. Or, hang on. I'm going to reread that just to clarify. Yeah. Retires, and then I choose 2 cards from their drop zone and bind them. So I'm going to bind the Sentinel, because there is ways that people can get cards back into the deck. But that depends on the deck itself. Now I'm going to put his 15k shield back into the bind zone too. So I'm also going to count how many cards are in the bind zone right now. Okay, 4. There are currently 4 cards in the bind zone. There's a reason I'm doing that, because there are certain cards that I have that require a certain number to be in the bind zone. And now, at the end of the battle, my units all return to normal. And the grade 4 goes back into the G zone, but it goes face up on the other side of your G deck. Like next to it. So next it's the Kagero user's turn. Fun. Oh yeah, I forgot to do the damage check. Oops, I'm an idiot. Oh well. Now it's the Kagero user's turn. Call that. And call this. Embodiment of Armor Bar's skill. When it's placed, I can Counterblast and Soul Blast 1. Which Soul Blast is basically taking a card out from your soul and moving it to your drop zone. And I can choose one of my opponent's grade 2 or less rear guards in the same column as the unit. Now I'm doing this a little weird. So basically, what it is if like this is a column, this is a column, and that's a column. So basically, Bar can actually retire one of my cards, which would be this thing. However, it really depends on if you want to go for blocking a shield or blocking power attacks. Now, most Kagero users would be going for blocking shield, which is what I'll be doing. So he just retired that. And Bar has an additional skill of, if the number of rear guards is greater than your opponent's, the unit gets 5,000. It gets 5,000 power until the end of the turn. As far as I know, I only have 2 rear guards now. Yeah, I only have 2 rear guards, and the Kagero deck has 3. Attack again. So I'm going to use the attacking again for Dragonic Waterfall here. And it doesn't have any special abilities besides the additional 10,000 from the Force from it. I can Sentinel ability, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So, I Twin Drive for Waterfall. Yes, some of the triggers have gotten like a minor power boost, like underneath of the little indicator. They have a power boost now, or they have a higher power boost than they used to. Originally, it was 5,000, but now it's 20. Now it's 10,000 to make up for the power creep of the imaginary gift. So, I'll give the power to Embodiment of Shield Raham. However, because of that heal trigger, I cannot heal because my opponent has more damage than me. See how that works. And the second check is a critical trigger. Because perfect guarded, all effects, the additional critical attack damage, which would increase the damage I do by 1, and the additional 10,000 attack, go to Embodiment of Shield Raham. So now that attack's over, the Sentinel leaves the battlefield. And I get attacked for 43,000 damage. Holy shit. I actually don't have enough cards in hand to guard that because a grade 3 is not a shield. So I do 2 damage checks. I'm at 4 damage, so this is the 5th damage. Come on, heal trigger. No trigger. So with that, I have lost to myself. However, I still want to show off some abilities. So I'm going to show off those abilities now. For this card here, specifically, I'm just going to write it from the Vanguard, or from the Damage Zone. For this card here, has an ability called Legion, which basically, how I said, has an ability to get cards back into your deck. So you'd choose up to 4 cards. There we go. 4 cards to add back into your deck. So you say you need your Perfect Guard back, just to put back into the deck, move it to the deck. You put, you want some higher shield back into the deck, or some of your triggers, like a standard crit or maybe a heal trigger, put it back into the deck. I believe I've just put 3 into the deck, so 1 more. There we go. The next step of doing this, which Legion can only be activated if you and your opponent are at grade 3. I just wanted to point that out real quick. You seek the mate, which is actually like on the side of the card, showing you what it attaches to. So it attaches Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion to it. So we do this, and we put them side by side. The mate is the one on the left side of the Vanguard, while the one on the right side is the Vanguard. And this way I can kill off another bird with 1 stone. There's also ability here, which says once per turn, limit break 4. Choose an activation of one of your Legion mates, and you can play that ability without the cost. Basically, it can activate Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion's limit break ability, which its limit break is Counterblast 3, and in turn it gains an additional 2,000 power. Oops. it gains an additional 2,000 power and attacks the entire front row with one attack. Also, to show what Legion does, basically you add the 2's total attack power bonuses you've given it already, and you turn both cards sideways to attack. So this is a Legion of 24. Now, because in the limit break of Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion, units with intercept cannot intercept this attack at all, because it's attacking everything. That's literally the explanation. It's attacking the entire front row, so no intercept to guard the Vanguard because they're getting attacked anyway. There's also the ultimate break ability, which is with Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion Blood, or Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion, Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion Blood, where it gains 5,000 power and a critical, and attacks the entire front row. There's also a couple other abilities that I haven't gotten to show. So there's also, in Extra X, there's also G Guardian, which you discard a heal trigger to actually summon it. And then you'd play it on the Guardian Circle, and then whatever ability it has, like Generation Break 1 here, when it is placed on the Guardian Circle, you can pay the cost. Choose a face-down G Guardian from your G zone and turn it face up. Your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and finds it face up. And then if the number of rear guards your opponent has is 2 or more than yours, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. Which would also, in turn, because this is a once per turn ability, it doesn't say once per your turn. Also, ignites Chain Bolt Dragoon's ability, at least as far as I'm aware. I haven't actually looked entirely into the rulings for this just yet, because I haven't actually went to tournaments with this deck yet. I have actually wanted to, but I got stuck working all the goddamn time. And there are some abilities that have, like, Soul Charge, which is taking a card from the top of your deck and sending it into your soul. And it basically, some of the abilities, like, some of them have this, like, text thing to at least indicate what it is. Because it won't say Soul Charge, it'll say, like, SC or something, like, oh, Soul Charge. SB, Soul Blast. CB, Counter Blast. CC, Counter Charge, which countercharging is taking a card from your damage zone that was face down and flipping it back up. Anyway, this was a tutorial on how to play Cardfight Vanguard. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like down below, comment for more, and as always, have a wonderful day.